For tonight's shave, I'm going to be using one I haven't used in a while. Virginia Cheng. This is a knot from them, and it's a Silvertip Badger, 26 millimeter, I believe. And I put it away, not really focusing on it because I enjoyed my whip dog and my golden nib knots a little better at the time. But I'm starting to like to have just a little more backbone than sometimes those knots allow. And so I decided to bring it out. Let's give it a shot. So I had mounted it to this Maggard's handle. At the time I thought I liked this handle, but I should have spent a little bit more time testing it out. It's got this this ridge right here that just bothers me in exactly the wrong way. That's okay. That's why I mount with silicone, so I can switch the knot to another handle if I want. And today's soap is Pere Lucien Cologne Fougere. Got a decent smell to it. I definitely, you know, it's a good fougere. I smell the like fern type scent, so looking forward to trying that. The razor is a Black Beauty. This is a Gillette Super Adjustable, I believe is what they call them. There's one with a slightly longer handle that's called the long handle. I just recently, it's new to me, and it's suitable that I would be using it on a day when I'd be doing a soap with the father in the name, because this was the same model that my grandfather used. And it's not his exact razor, unfortunately, but that's as close as we can get. And inside it, I have the Nacet blade. It's now 43 shaves in. It's doing fine, at least in the previous razors I've been using. And today is the 44th use. Gillette Nacet. Now I am going to take these containers that Pere Lucien makes. I mean, they're just awesome. Metal is strong. They feel great. This is a pretty rigid soap, and so it's a little difficult to scoop out, but that's why I choose this very thin-walled one. Kind of just slices through. Nice, very nice. And I'm going to take my sample out of the spoon, 1/4 inch measure, press it into the bottom. It's holding its consistency together very well. Kind of more on the hard end of the spectrum of cropes. There we go. Technically a little bit less than 1/4 teaspoon, I believe. Yeah. All right, now I'm going to rinse my face off. Still got a little bit of bronchitis or something, and so I'll try to pause you and keep my mouth hydrated so that I don't cough and snort and sneeze as much as possible. So, lather bowl. Man, it's been a long time since I used this brush. It'll be interesting. I have a whole new kind of perspective on the backbone. Shaking out about as much as I can. I think maybe I used this thing maybe a dozen times or so. It might have been shoving my skin around like a synth, you know, with kind of high backbone. Oh wow, look what comes up right away. If you can make it out, it's very light, airy, foamy lather. Very airy. So what I want to do is, I did that for just a second, and now I'm going to go ahead and start adding a little bit of water to the mix to help things out. So today was the brunt of Hurricane Florence coming through our area. When it was a couple days away, we were actually in the projected path. Then it turned south. And so we went ahead and stayed. We're not on the coast, and so we weren't really in supreme danger. But you just never, with one of the big dangers is just like staying somewhere where the gas is accessible. A lot of times in emergencies like this, getting gas becomes a hard thing to do. Finding a place that has it. And so, but because it shifted, our experience was just kind of a thunderstorm. Lots of rain today, very windy, gusts up to like 45 or 40 or something like that. Now this is very light and airy right now, so we're gonna have to keep adding that water to kind of bring it down. Power did go out for a couple hours. It sure would be nice when that happens if you had a magical knowledge about, how long it would be out, because then you could just live your life, go to the refrigerator and get something out with no worries. But if you know it's going to be 3 days, then, or 1 day, then you don't want to use up your cooling in the fridge, so that like freezes the your operation of those appliances. Man, sometimes hard soaps, you don't have to use as much of them, and this might be the case. I might be making a ton of lather here. So that's 2 teaspoons of water in it. Because it's so dry, I'm going to go ahead and put in another 2.5 teaspoons of water in there. Yeah, pretty much the same smell. Back in June, I think I used this brand of soap. I don't think I have since then. Yeah, there we go. It's coming together better. This big brush, man. Need a big bowl for it. Unless you're a face latherer, of course. The speed control on YouTube videos. Change the playback speed. 1.5 is a good setting where you often will be able to understand my voice, but it'll save you some time. Hit the little gear icon. There we go. Now it's starting to look more like normal shaving soap instead of being quite so airy. I had to put 2.5 teaspoons of water in it. I mean, we've got a good bit of stuff here. You can still see plenty of small air bubbles though. Probably a little bit of water left to go. Maybe this is one of those hard soaps that you don't have to use as much. There's people who say, load like you hate it. Well, sometimes that's good if a person is just not loading enough soap in their brush. But if you load twice as much soap as you actually need, then you're going to have to add twice as much water as you would actually need, and you'll have twice as much volume. as you actually need, and sometimes that's more hassle. Yeah, this is looking much better. Wow, so that's been a long time since I put 4 teaspoons of water in a lather. So after I try to mix this uniformly, I'll get my fingers in there and see how it feels. All right. Not very much in terms of cushion, not very much resistance at all. I can feel my finger, the ridges of my fingerprints pretty well. It's hard to know if this is like Williams. I need to keep adding water to make it kind of cream up. It's just or whether I'm thinning it down too much. So let's be conservative and just gonna mix for a little while longer. Seems too dry. Look at that. So you know what? I'm just gonna risk it. Just looks so dry. Just see what happens. And all that from that little bitty 1/4 teaspoon of soap that you saw in that measuring spoon. Alright, well, we just try this and see what happens. I can always just go back to the puck and do kind of a face lather if this is too thin. Put a little water on my face if it's too thick. Alright, I'm going to rinse my face. And let's see what happens with this huge amount of lather. I'm going to rake a little bit of it off of the side of the brush. Oh, the tips on this are not nearly as soft as the ones I've been using. Maybe I put this aside because it was so huge. So one good thing about tips like this are they do a nice job of kind of scrubbing your skin and cleaning it, getting ready for the shave. And but they should improve over time. I'll have to look in my records. I think I have counted how many times I've used this. I think I like this amount of backbone. You can also make the hairs a little softer by picking a lanolin soap. I read this on a forum and I tried it on a couple of my brushes and it seemed to work. Pick a lanolin soap like Mitchell's wool fat. Whip yourself up a nice lather like that and let it sit for a day. Just like this. gets into those hairs and softens them up a little bit. Seemed to work for me for the couple of brushes I used it on. There we go. So look at all that lather. I'll be willing to bet a little bit of water might be good. There's just some soap in here that hasn't been combined with the other soap, with the other lather and stuff. Try that out next time. Next pass. How's the smell strength? 3 out of 10? Maybe 4. Almost where I want it. It's a good quality soap. That's expensive, and so that's why I buy it used. I'll buy a partial tub, kind of on sale. And so then I don't have to pay that high markup. This is a French soap. Look, it's getting a little weak right there. Interesting. Let's see how she shaves. I'm going for the number 4 setting on this adjustable. And here we go with the 44th use of this blade. I've had it mostly in kind of aggressive, mid-aggressive razors. See how it performs at kind of a lower setting. It's not pulling or doing anything like that. Yeah, I need to work on that lather. It's kind of thin. Don't know which way to go with it. Maybe just stir it for a while to make sure that soap, you know, really has a chance to connect. Reduce a little bit. And there we go. First pass. Very comfortable. All right, so pass number 2. Definitely present. It's stronger while I'm applying it here. Get a little more from the bowl. Sometimes the second and third passes tell you a little bit better about how the soap performed. For me, maybe because since I don't do a pre-shave, that first one kind of has to contend with the existing oils on my oily face. Very smooth. Got some hairs coming from the brush. Not a problem. It's new enough to where that is expected. Said we were expected to get, due to the hurricane weather conditions, about 7-ish inches of rain over the kind of over the weekend. last year. We had a bridge washout just near us. Guess it wasn't constructed to handle that much water flow. Big time. You know, just for grins, I went ahead and put another ½ teaspoon in here. And I'll figure, you know, it could be that I used just too much soap. Maybe just 1/8 of a teaspoon is what this soap needs. And so because there was so much soap in my bowl, it just didn't have a chance to mix right. So let's see what happens. Tons of soap, and I'm about to put on my 3rd pass, and you can see how much there is in there. It's definitely not a dense lather, and so that's what I'm saying. Maybe next time if I come at it with less soap, I'll have enough room to give it a proper mixing to keep it, to break it down and make it condense. So we'll see. Big knot. Maybe I put this away just because of the size of the knot. I barely have any maneuvering room around my goatee. Nice green smell. Green like plant, you know, grass. That's just mostly what it is. It's probably got some other things in there. I think a fougere is often like a floral on top of some woody type notes, you know. I'm not really picking. You know what? Maybe there's some rose in there. Some other type of floral, but the greenery, whatever they're using for that, almost a grassy scent is joining with it and working really well to keep it from being feminine. I like this. A fresh, good summer scent. Light. All right. Very smooth. Like butter. Light touch. It is nice and refreshing to be using a razor that is less aggressive. All during August I used a Dart from Blackland, and that is right on the edge of my comfort zone in terms of aggression. I did figure out how to change the handle angle and enjoy it a lot more. Well, it may be airy and thin, but it's doing its job. I've got nice glide. There's slickness on my skin. I don't feel any irritation. And so let's rinse and get ready for that 4th net pass. Tons of lather left. Just paint it on for this fourth pass. And you know what? My neck, I feel just a twinge of irritation. I'm going to dial this down to a 3 instead of the 4. Gentle and as little pressure as I can. Nice. Not a great cut right there. Right there. Kind of one of my big problem areas. See if I can hit it again. That's one problem with reducing the angle. Reducing the aggression. Let's just see how close I got. Do a rinse. Oh yeah, that little custom bit I did right there in that small patch. Perfect. Perfect. I have my angle right. Very gentle with the pressure. I do feel just a tiny, tiny bit of irritation, but that's just not a big deal at all. Great results with that targeted approach. Careful with my pressure, and did kind of buffing action there. Of course, with lather in play, and I got it cut very nicely. So this 44 use blade is still able to cut flush, and I can't go against the grain on my neck, which would be this direction, because of irritation. I get all flamed up and stuff if I do that. And so very, very nice. Very happy with that. Let me go down and see what kind of post shave I have. One of my faves is pretty simple. Cella Balsamo Doppelbarba Aftershave Balm. Got a nice scent that I really enjoy. It's pretty thin, so it goes on pretty easy. Not a, sometimes if you have skin that's a little irritated, if you have a thick balm, then it can be a little irritating just to apply the balm to help with irritation, right? Not so with this guy. Of course, if you do have one of those kind of balms, just splash a little water on your face and then put the balm on. That'll really help you. Nice little smell on this. I think it's working very well with the Pere Lucien. All right, very cool. So very, very happy with the results on that one. That's just that's a top-notch shave from a veteran blade. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to keep adding water to this lather, just to see what happens, because I have now put 5.5 teaspoons of water into this bowl, and look, I've got tons of lather. It's like it never ends. And I believe what happened was, like I said, I used too much soap, and then there's not enough. Sometimes if you have a soap that really kind of hard and it jumps right into a kind of an airy lather, you need to beat it. You need to beat those bubbles out. sometimes with very vigorous actions. And because of the large quantity of lather that I had, I just wasn't able to be vigorous with it. So I'm curious, and I'm going to pause you so you don't have to wait on this because the shave is all done. I'm just going to see if I'm going to take part of this and just chuck it out so that I have some operating room. So I've still got quite a bit of lather in there. I'm just going to keep adding water until it either breaks down or gets even creamier. So I'm going to pause you and I'll tune back in with you in just a second. So still have tons of lather. It has not creamed up, and so I think that this is not one that's going to be rescued by more water. It's still, it's still very shaveable, but it's not creamy, not luxurious feeling. It's still slick. I could easily feel my fingerprint ridges when I did kind of the finger test before. I have lots of volume left over. It's kind of airy though, and it's just getting thinner the more I go, and so then now I know that it's not going to recover. And so what I bet I'll get a whole different experience next time when I use maybe a half or a half or maybe 2/3 of that spoon measure. Probably start with a half, because look at all this soap I'm getting, and then maybe that will cause the soap not to just overwhelm everything and become kind of unmixable. So relatively speaking, this is so funny how much lather I have. Airy and light and dissipates pretty quickly. There's still, you can feel that this is not like a bath soap that you might have, because you can feel some of those good ingredients in there. And so that's why this is still a workable shave lather if you needed it to be. Now I don't have any clean surfaces to turn on the faucet. My hand was all up in that lather. Time to clean the faucet, I guess. Anyway, so that answered that question. This is not a soap that when it gets thin like that, more water will rescue it. At least in my case. So I've got something to try for next time. Maybe this will be the soap I use tomorrow. We'll just have to see. It's not really storming tonight. Who knows? Maybe all that, maybe the system has moved past us now and we're dealing with the flood type dangers now. But we're not in a floodplain, so we should be okay. So I'm actually pretty happy with this knot. Much more so than when I put it away initially. I think I will have to maybe just try to sell this brush because it's just too big. As you noticed, it took up my whole area here, and then there's the hope that over time the tips would become a little softer and get worked in. But it's a fairly new knot, so I think that's a possibility. But it feels good. It's got good density for my use. It's nowhere near the Declaration Grooming density, but that's okay. You don't always have to have the most dense brush. Matter of fact, if it's more dense, then it's got more backbone, and this has a perfect amount of backbone for me, at least the closest I've discovered so far. So that I'm really happy about. Glad I thought and remembered that I had this on hand. So maybe with the money that I use when I sell this, I'll buy another knot, a smaller one, to put in another handle and give that a try as a budget badger knot. But even if this is the one I was stuck with, I'd be fine. You saw it gave me a good time. It was just a little big, but very enjoyable, very nice. And for a person who likes just a little bit of scrub, in terms of like cleaning action and that sort of thing, this is perfect. All right, I'm going to keep cleaning up. So that's very interesting. I switched to a more mild razor, and for the first time in a couple of months, I'm getting some raised area, some red areas with just a tiny bit of irritation. That's going to go away pretty soon. How about that? It also could be the lather. Maybe it was not protective enough, as my lathers of the past have been. So there's that too. That could be a possibility. I think I will maybe try this soap again next time, and just use less of it and see what happens. It's a reputable brand that usually provides people with very nice lathers. So I just must have, done something wrong this time. Happy with the brush, as I said. Glad to see that razor works well. I'll have to, of course, it'll work a little better with a newer blade, a little sharper. And there we go. And yes, the Cella Balm was a great match with this Fougere soap. Very nice. I like that a lot. Definitely, I enjoy and recommend this soap scent. As I mentioned earlier, light green, summer, spraying, that sort of thing. I mean, use it anytime you want, obviously, but it's especially geared for that kind of thing. Morning shaves, especially, just getting started. That sort of vibe is what I'm getting from the soap. And I guess that's it. I hope there was something here for you. We'll see what tomorrow brings with Hurricane Florence. She's supposed to kind of come in and I think go up as a tropical storm or something like that. A few people killed, unfortunately, already. Tree fell on somebody's house, and that sort of thing. It's really too bad. So there we go. Everybody stay safe. That's in a stormy region. Take care. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Good night.